Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning. So, all of you present here, I humbly welcome and thank you for participating in this webinar, which took quite some time from now since the last time we conducted our webinar. But yes, we are back, and this time we have chose to talk about something which is relatively important for all of the researchers, academicians, and we generally stuck at this point as well. So, yes, we are going to talk about research methods and methodology. And this webinar, as you all know, is being organized by Research Graduate, which is what I generally always call that is a one-stop solution for all your research queries. If you are struggling with topic selection, if you're struggling with how to write a paper, or someone who doesn't have a good command over grammar, or probably structure a paper or their thesis. So any of the query which is goes like that, please, you may choose to approach research graduate. So the question comes, how can we go ahead, and how can we approach research graduate? And that's why the given email id and the number for your reference. And also you can browse research graduate on the website researchgraduate.com. So all these venues are there open for you all. So you may choose to visit research graduate by any of the mode. All right. So as far as the structure of the webinar goes, like, it'll be a 90 minutes of presentation. So when I say 90 minutes, I always tell that we may stretch beyond 90 minutes as well, and we may end up before that as well. It depends upon the topic of discussion in hand. So don't go by the click of the clock that it's 90 minutes, it should be over. We may stretch beyond that as well. However, when it comes to question and answers, I don't go by every single minute. So as long as you guys have queries, we'll be online. And when it comes to recording, when it comes to PPTs, when it comes to the certificates, as what you have, being registered with your email ID, it'll all be sent on that email ID. And just in case there is an internet glitch or something like that, so in order to avoid that, kindly increase your YouTube video quality now only by 720p. And special mention to the people who are joining from their mobiles. They might can experience certain glitches in between, so please be patient. You'll get back to on track. All right. Okay, so now it's a time to start our webinar. Okay, so just a second, just a second, give me a minute, guys. um mm, give me a minute, please. Sincere apologies for the delay. Okay, so we are back. So basically, since all of you who have joined, they have some or the other connection with the research, since that's what invoked you to join this webinar. Okay, you might be in the capacity of an academician, you might be in the capacity of a researcher, or even a PhD scholar or an MPhil scholar, and so on. So when I say so, that you are in a different capacity of research, probably a student or a teacher or something like that. However, this concept of research or the concept of research methodology more or less remains the same for all of you. First thing. Second thing is that many a times it happens that we are good with literature review, we are good with the um, you know um, structuring the paper, we're good with everything, but when it comes to research section, we guys stuck, that is because we have a mental blockage. That roadblock is because we always associate research with numbers. Many times it happens that if somebody is not good with numbers, they will get to get glitched with the uh, research methodology as well. Now why that is so? Because, just give me a minute, I'll just do this. Just give me a minute, guys. Probably I'll explain it. Don't worry, no worries. So why there is a glitch? Because whenever it comes to number, whenever it comes to statistics part, we find ourselves um, falling apart. That no, this is something which I can't do. This is something which I can't do. No, but what I want to make you understand is that. Uh, no, Mr. Srinivas, I have a throat problem actually today. So, uh, actually, I'm located in Melbourne, so here is pretty cold these days, so that's why. So, but thank you so much. But I hope my voice is clear for you all. So, it is like that, whenever you fall for any research section, you get to scum, or you get to, you know, um, surrender yourself. But here I would like to um tell you that when it comes to research, it is about how we are approaching towards our study. Not necessarily every research has number. Let me assure you that. Not necessarily every research has a statistical angle altogether. No, there are different kind of research which we'll be talking about. So first of all, get rid of that fear, get rid of that thinking that I can't do research. No, every one of you can do that. So when I tells you that what is exactly a research, so basically every one of you, whenever you are conducting a study, please, I want you to visualize this thing. Whenever I'm conducting a research, that is a study, be it my thesis, or be it my paper, be it any level of research study, I always have a research problem in hand. Clear? Now, how to approach that research problem? How to give solutions for that research problem? In what way I can fill that gap which I have found out from my literature is research. So, am I going ahead just by reviewing previous literature? Yes, I'm doing research. Or if I'm collecting data from numbers in the number forms from my sample or from the people, I use the basic language with you all. That is also research. So, just first of all, I want all of you to get away with the thought that research is only number. No, okay, it's not a number. All right, then comes that whenever we are conducting a research, it has to be a proper systemized form of inquiry. Okay, so to start with, I should have a problem in my hand which leads to research questions, my objectives. If I'm going ahead with deductive research, which I'll tell you, I should have a hypothesis in my hand. Then I will collect literature on that. Then I'll proceed with my research methodology. So it's a proper set pattern which I'm moving ahead with. Okay. Now I told you the one word that is inductive, reductive research. Another one is called inductive research. Okay. Inductive research is basically when you are coming ahead with an hypothesis. Okay, so I conducted one study in which I found out that, for instance, students who are investing more time in their study get good grades. So there is a positive association between students investing time and their grades. So this is what I have found out from my study. This is my inductive research. On the contrary, when you talk about a deductive research, you start with a theory or a hypothesis. So there is a positive relationship between time invested and good grades. I have to test this. How I will do it? By conducting my study. Okay? All right. Now, moving ahead, again, if I tell you that what is a research? So either you are developing a hypothesis or you are validating, testing a hypothesis. Okay? Whatever information you have, you are aligning that in a structure. This is research in simple language. Okay. Now, moving ahead with what are the characteristics of research? Now, firstly, make sure that using jargon words, when I say jargon words, using difficult terminologies, using difficult words is not research. If I say that I am writing a work which is very fancy English, does not mean that I'm conducting a research. Firstly, my first priority in my research is, or what should I call it as a good research is, when whatever research problems I have in focus, I am focusing on providing their solution. Many a times you must have gone through many researches that you yourself, being a beginner researcher, you can't understand what exactly this author wants to say. What is the, research objectives, or they have a research objective, but where are the solution? So no, our research, an ideal research should be a proper, it can be a very simple one also. No need to make it so complicated. No, a simple or slash a complicated, both ways you can go, but focusing on the problems. Okay, there should be a structure. So like when I say structure, so whosoever is actually working on a thesis, your university gives you a proper, so structure to follow, like chapter 1 should be this, chapter 2, chapter 3, and so on. You need to follow that. Whenever you are submitting a paper to a journal, every journal they have a set structure to follow. You need to follow that. All right, there should be a logic. Just any statement, see, let me tell you, you, irrespective the kind of research you are doing, cannot say anything which is not logical. That means which is not supported by any evidences. Either that evidences can be from the literature. So if you want to say something, let's say how much time the students invest in studies, it reflects on their grades. If you are stating this, either you should have a literature, that means any other author should have said this, or your own data should support it. Any statement in the air does not count into research. Okay, also that means your research results should be available to all, and if they want to go up with the findings of your research but in new environment, they should be able to. So make sure all these. Okay, generally students, or researchers, they have this thing in mind that okay fine, I'm just doing it for my purpose and let it get published and I'll get rid of it. No, please don't do that. Also, your research should be useful to many others. It can be other academicians, it can be other corporates, and that section is called implications. Okay, so implication section, please make sure that you focus on that. Okay, it should be action generated also. It can be simple, like I said, And it should not be like that. It is never ending process, like, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. No, it should have a, like, for instance, if I talk in context of India, many universities give you minimum time period for your PhD like 3 years, and maximum up to 6. Beyond that, you have to get your approval from your university. This is because they want you to time bound your thesis, time bound your research. Reason for that is, now please understand here. Let's say I have started my research in COVID times, 2020. Okay. Until now, even 2023, my research is going on, going on, going on. So the questions which I picked up at that time, will they be relevant now? And even if they are relevant, how much they are relevant? Okay. All these aspects needs to be taken care of. All right. Now, what is the purpose of the research? Whatever research you are doing, firstly is exploratory. That means that kind of research which, remember with the word exploring, you are exploring about that problem. Okay, the research which you are further, conducting to further explore that problem so that you can better understand it. Another one is explanatory. Now when I say explanatory, explanatory says explain, you know why it is happening, what are the reasons for it, and if this is happening, what are the effects of it, the why. So always, is it is a tip, like, exploratory means exploring, explanatory means giving explanations. Okay. Now comes descriptive. Now basically, many a times, many researchers get confused into explanatory and descriptive also. Describing, descriptive means describing what has happened. That means here you are, in a way, if I say, you are combining both exploratory and explaining what has happened, how has happened, why it is happening. So you are describing that problem. What is that problem? Why it is happening? How it is happening? And what are the effects of it? Okay, so combination of both. Okay, now here is a tabular form, which gives you a basically distinction between all three. So first is your exploratory, which is unstructured, describing and explanatory research. They are structured category. Okay. So this I have given you a tabular form for your reference. Now comes to research methods. Now what are research methods? Okay. Firstly, understand research methods are those ways by which you are going to study those research problems. Any topic. Now, for example, if I say that I want to understand consumer behavior, I'm not a marketing person, but I'm taking randomly. I want to understand consumer behavior. Okay. So, in order to have a better understanding of consumer behavior, what ways I want to study it? What all are the procedures? I'm going to go through literature, or I'm going to interview the people. I want to understand the psychology of the consumers, whatever. That depends what aspect of consumer behavior I want to understand. Let's say, for an example, I want to understand that when any consumer buy a brand, what are the thought process he's undergoing. So let's say if I want to buy a brand called Louis Vuitton, so behind purchasing that brand, what are the thoughts which are going in my mind? Okay, how will I go through it? So I need a detailed information on that. I will plan. How will I collect the information on that? What ways I need to understand that what consumer is going on in that. So these are the methods which I employ to complete my study are research methods. See, I appreciate that you guys are interactive during the chat, during the session, but I would further appreciate that if you can have a note on the questions which we will take by the end of the webinar. Okay, every question will be well taken of, but I would suggest, or I will say that kindly make a note of your questions. We'll be taking it further. Okay, now there are two kind of research methods, probably three, but majorly two. Third is a mixture of both. Let me take both one by one. First is your qualitative. Now here I'll give you a tip, like quality, detailed one. Okay. When I want to understand that why are they buying Louis Vuitton? How they decided that they want to buy Louis Vuitton? So this kind of information they can't give me like one, two, or a scale of agree, strongly agree. They can't tell me like that. They have to elaborate on their responses that I want Louis Vuitton or I buy Louis Vuitton because it is a premium brand or I'm a brand loyal person or so whatsoever the reasons are. They have to explain, okay, the data which I get. Now, data, what data is not always the numbers. The data is any information which we receive, which we collect for the purpose of completion of our research. It can be numbers, it can be a detailed explanation as well. Okay, so when I want to understand that what goes on in their mind when they are going to buy Louis Vuitton, that information, that data falls into the category of qualitative data, and I'm employing qualitative research methods. Okay, so when I want to understand their behavior or any emotions they are going through, that for that kind of research, I'll go with qualitative research methods. Okay, now these are the ways by which you can actually collect the qualitative research. Like, you can choose any particular company. Let's say I want to go for how entrepreneurs achieve success. I can choose any company's details and I can study that case study. Probably I can observe the my respondents. I don't disturb them, but I just observe them what they are doing, and I then collect my feedback. Or probably I can participate, that is called participative observation, when I be a part of them. Or probably I can arrange a focus group, like people who are from that domain. Let's say I want to understand marketing strategy, so marketers, I'll create a group of them, I'll give a topic for them to discuss, and whatever they are discussing, I'll make a note of it. Okay, or you can conduct one-on-one interview as well. All these methods are qualitative research methods. Okay, now the next one is exactly reverse of that, quantitative research method, wherein when we can actually, like for example, how s- how how much you are agree that Louis Vuitton gives you good quality. That's my question. I want to understand. Strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Okay, or scale, give a rating on a scale of 10 or 5 to the brand Louis Vuitton. So this kind of research, which is basically in simple language collected in the information of not detailed responses, that kind of data is quantitative data, and research methods which we are applying here is quantitative. How often you eat ice creams? Okay, to what extent you like ice creams, how many times you eat ice cream, you know so if any new ice cream vendor wants to launch new flavor, probably he can or she can go for such kind of responses. That is quantitative research methods. Okay, all right, so these are the ways by which I can collect the quantitative, different ways to do the quantitative research. Okay, now another method is, which is the most preferable one, and when I did my PhD, I employed this one only, mixed method. Mixed method is a combination of both. Okay, so let's say there is a study which wants to understand that how much is the improvement is there in the employees when we introduce any new training method. So understand, I want to understand how much the employees get improved on their skills when we we as in the employer introduce any new training method. Okay, so for that I first want to understand what employees think. That will be collected through qualitative. And next is, are they happy with the trainings? What kind of training is being given to them? How often is being training given to them? So let's say I got to know that when the training is being given twice a week, they think improvement is not that much. When the given is training is given repeatedly, frequently, they can they think that there is a certain considerable improvement on their skill sets. So this is the way we employ mixed methods. So basically, mixed methods allow you that what is happening, to what extent you eat ice cream, also why you eat ice cream. Okay, both the questions will be answered when you talk about the mixed method of research. All right, moving further, these are the different research methods come falling into the category of mixed methods. So first is your conversion parallel design. Now here what you do is you parallelly collect the data. That means quantitative data is also being collected, qualitative data is also being collected. So quantitative data is how many times you are eating ice cream, and you are collecting it, analyzing it. Qualitative data is why are you eating ice cream, you are collecting the data and you are analyzing it. So both the datas are being collected. If you want to compare it or you want to relate it, whatever the analysis needs to be done, you're doing it simultaneously. Now explanatory sequential design says that explain, see, understand. I eat ice cream 5 times a day. So you collected that information through quantitative data. Why I eat ice cream 5 times a day? Through qualitative data. Okay, so you are basically collecting quantitative data and supporting it through qualitative data. That if people are eating ice cream 5 times a day, why are they doing so? Now, exploratory sequential design is reverse, exploring around that information. So first you are collecting the information that why are people are eating ice cream? So they like it, they don't like it. So if they like it, they're eating 5 times a day. That is quantitative data. If they don't like it, they're eating once in a while. Again, quantitative data. So explanatory and exploratory. Okay. Okay. Now comes what is research methodology. Understand one thing. Major confusions come here. Research methods is whatever way you are basically, you know, it's like when we are constructing a house. Okay. So basically, the entire plan which an architect gives you is your research methodology. Okay. Now, what techniques we will use to complete that plan are research methods. Okay. Now, if somebody says that if somebody says that my research interpretation of data will be this, data collection will be this, conclusions will be like this, is entire research methodology. Research methodology basically takes you to the end of solving the research problem. That means you reached up to conclusions. Okay, so how you have prepared that study to solve out the research problems is research methodology. And what are the ways you employed to complete that research is research methods. Okay, so this is basically a distinguish factor. So like what we have discussed now, all the research method is basically the blueprint, like I said, how we are going to do that, systematic structure, what all methods can be applied, how are we going to interpret that data, whatever is being did, that is research methodology. Okay. Now, why research methodology needs to be stretched out so much? Now, reason for that is, in absence of a clear research methodology, your study will not gives you trusted results. Now, whenever or if anybody is planning to, go for a PhD viva, or they are doing PhD, or even if they are trying to get admission into some university and you're supposed to face that interview, my humble suggestion would be, please have a good command on your research methodology. Now, whosoever is going for a PhD admission, reviewer or examiner will not ask you to be thorough with your methodology. I'm asking it only for the aspirants for PhD. They don't want you to be thorough for the methodology because you are about to start the course. But they want you to have a understanding that if you have chosen a topic, so you know what is the aligned methodology would be there. Like, for example, if you say that I want to understand employee behavior in case of any leadership change. So that simple language means I want to understand that how people think whenever their manager change. Okay. So you want to conduct a study on that. Now, if you say that I'm going to conduct a quantitative study, so person like me would say that how? Justify that. Okay. In this kind of topic or research problem, clearly it says that you want to understand anybody's behavior, emotions. Automatically, it should click in your mind that what goes on into their mind when their manager changes would be a detailed explanation, and the appropriate research method should be qualitative. So, this kind of understanding should be there. Now, coming to those who are actually pursuing their research, to you, you should have a clear research problem in your hand. For that, I always suggest, please don't take your literature review also lightly, because that gives you research gaps. Okay. A good research gap leads you to research problem, which will give you a way to research questions and research objectives. Now, all these things are interrelated. A poorly done literature review will not give you appropriate gaps, because of which you will not be able to formulate good research problems, and then further the path is, that, right? So, a research methodology should be carefully chosen, not only chosen, appropriately justified. So, when you form your chapter 2 and chapter 3, to be particular, that's what, generally the number is. Not only mention that I collected data with questionnaire or interviews, also you should be thorough with the reasoning as well. Why I did so, why I chose to be that. Okay, all right. Now, there is a quick glimpse on research methods and methodology. So, research methods, I told you all the tools and techniques in simple language: interview and or correlation or t-test, whatever ways you have chosen. When you come to methodology, what entire process of data collection plus its analysis plus what does that data means, everything comes into methodology. Okay. Okay. Now, there are different aspects of research methodology. Now, first is measurement objectives. Basically, these are those, in simple, is your objectives, what you have set for your study, why you are doing this research. So, to understand the factors influencing changes in employee behavior. So, I want to understand those factors. to understand the relationship between consumer purchase and their income. Okay. Plus, always remember whenever you write your objectives, especially for the beginner researchers, I'm saying, just try to focus on the language of objectives to understand, to study, to explore, to influence. This is something which you should go for. Plus, three, four, 5 lines. Objectives of never of three, four, 5, 6 lines, right? It should be clear, concise, and simple. Easy. Okay. So you whosoever, let's say, if I am going through anybody's research, once I'm going through the objectives, I should hit with my research method. And then if I go directly on your research methodology, it should correlate. Okay. Another thing, what I would just give a tip like, if you have justified your research methods or methodology, just don't be afraid of it. Okay. Because every researcher has a different way of conducting research, different acumen is there. Okay. So just don't be sin. As long as you are able to justify your research methodology, fine, you're good to go. If I say you could have chosen X method, it's okay. That's my acumen. If you say no, my B method is also okay, I'll ask you why. If you're able to answer that why, you're good to go. Okay. Another aspect of research methodology is data collection. In simple language, data means that information which you need for the completion of your study. Okay. So you need that information, you need that data because you need to test those hypotheses. You need to find the answer for your research questions. How will you find it? With the help of this data. Okay. So when you talk about data collection methodology or the approaches towards data collection, like how you will collect the data, you know, whether this objective is best suited to go for this kind of research methods and data collection methods. Okay. So before choosing any particular data collection method, you should be very well clear of the pros and cons. Like, for example, if I'm sending questionnaires online, questionnaire is very easy method, inexpensive, you can send it online. However, there is a flip side also. That is, they sometimes gives you a delayed data. Like you may emailed me, you expected to, you want to get the results back by 2 weeks, but I'm so busy, I can't send my questionnaire filled even up to 4 weeks, because of which your study is getting delayed. Okay. So whatever method of data collection you are choosing, choose it wisely. Okay. By understanding the holistic perspective of each method. So when we talk about data collection methodology, one very common method is survey. Okay. Let's say you want to understand employee satisfaction, market research, how did the, just we took the example of training evaluation. So for all this, you can go for a survey. Okay. And you can get the information from the respondents and what they think about it. Okay. Then comes your reporting plan. Now you have got the information. Okay. I have the entire information with me. Now how I'm going to share it with the people. Okay. You want to prepare a report, you want to prepare a presentation. Okay. You should be telling each one of them that, this time I collected my literature, this time I collected my data. Now why it is important? Because this way we are ensuring that our data is not obsolete. Okay. So our entire reporting plan should be like this, that you should be able to, you know present entire information in a dissected way. What, when, why, how all that happened. And it should be presented in a format which should be easily read, can be read by everyone, because you are not doing research for yourself, you're doing it for others. Okay. All right. Now here we'll take a 5 minutes quick break. All right. And we'll be just quickly back by 5 minutes, exactly 5 minutes, and we'll be back. All right. Thank you so much. So, yes, guys, we are back. Okay, now a quick glimpse to the methodology rather, qualitative and quantitative. So, first is your quantitative and qualitative. So, basic, very basic difference between both these kind of research is when you talk about quantitative research, it deals with numbers and statistics. So, now here I would like to clear out that air that whosoever thinks that, we have, I'm bad with research, you may want to say that I'm bad with numbers or statistics. Don't say that you're bad with research because research has another side as well, which deals with words and meanings. Okay. Now, when you talk about quantitative research, the primary focus of quantitative research is to test out various hypotheses. For that, you develop some models. Okay. Now, on the contrary, when you talk about qualitative research, you formulate the theories and ideas. Okay. For quantitative research, now another thing, those whosoever is conducting quantitative research, you need a big sample size. You can't conduct a quantitative research in 10 to 12 respondents. However, on the contrary, for qualitative research, you can actually have, if you're interviewing some respondents, 10 to 12, 15 would go. So, smaller sample size for qualitative, bigger one for quantitative. Okay. Now, for qualitative methods, you need to have open ended questions so that they can explain. On the contrary, quantitative need to have multiple choice options. Okay. So, I have given you further methods also for the data collection and probably how to analyze as well. This is further the discussion on the differentiation between qualitative and quantitative research methodologies. Okay, now here I have given you example also. In quantitative, you have said, did you buy ice cream today? So you'll say either yes or no. There cannot be a third answer for that. It's simple. Did you buy ice cream today? Yes or no. This will be a quantitative response. When you talk about qualitative, then you'll probably ask and investigate, why did you buy ice cream today? Okay, so the data what you'll got from quantitative on this question will be like 67 or 76% respondents say that yes, they did bought an ice cream, they did buy an ice cream. Qualitative responses would be like, because I saw a sale or I liked that flavor of ice cream, so I wanted to treat myself. That's the reason they gave you when you ask them the qualitative question. So this is the major, you can yourself now, if anybody of you are reviewing literature paper related to your study, now I think you can very well understand just by looking at the data that it's going to be a quantitative research or a qualitative research. Okay, now what will be the methodology for qualitative research? So when you talk about methodology for qualitative research, it will be like, firstly, it is grounded theory, and it has that, you are collecting information on that topic, probably, to develop some theories on that. Further on, for example, action research, wherein you are trying to drive some sort of changes in whatever process has been going on. Narrative research is when you collect the data, whatever information you have got from qualitative research, you narrate it and how that data makes sense, how it does interpret or it should be interpreted for others. Okay, so this is like that. Now, when you talk about qualitative research further, so you can actually go for the data collection qualitatively, firstly by observations, whatever you have seen, whatever you have heard. So like, there is a, let's say for example, you want to understand kids psychology who are going through kindergartens. Okay, kids psychology, you're going through kindergarten, you want to understand their psychology, so you'll just go to a kindergarten school and probably you will just observe them, that Kids are enjoying there, kids are engaged in activities. So this is not, you're not disturbing them. Another example would be, how does employees behave in the particular official setup or something like that. So there, you're not disturbing them, you're just making information, whatever you are seeing, whatever you're grasping, without employing your own biasness. You don't have a say in that. You're just noting down whatever you are seeing. Another one is also can be participative observation, wherein you um, become a part of your respondents and then make observations. Now in both of these there will be slight changes, because when they know you're not there, they'll be probably, they'll not change their behavior. But when they know that you are noting down the information, probably there can be a certain changes in the behavior. Another meta can be interviews, which every one of you knows, when you have a one-on-one conversation with your respondents on a certain topic or a certain, methods or something. Focus groups, I already told you, when there is a group of expert and you give them a topic to discuss. Surveys, when you have questionnaire with open-ended questions, not with the multiple choice, open-ended. Secondary research is when you are exploring the data which is already in the form of published text or images or papers and so on. So with all these ways, you can collect the qualitative research methods data. Now, further, when you talk about how to analyze that data, now it's, you have done it, you have collected it, okay? Now, how to analyze that? Firstly, you collect your information. Whatever, let's say you conducted an interview, whatever information, whatever responses you got from your respondents, you collect that, okay? Now, see, is there any repetition in those responses? What I mean by here is there anything which is particularly repeated by more than one respondents? Note them. Okay. Now, when you find such kind of patterns or repeated ideas, you kind of develop a coding system. Okay. So you basically assign codes to those themes, those patterns, and then you add to your spreadsheet, or then you analyze on the basis of the codes assigned. Okay. Now what are the approaches for that is, when you're doing content analysis basically, so let's say you want to explain, let's say somebody said one word which is being referred by many, what exactly that word meant, you know what exactly that phrase meant which is being repeated. Thematic analysis, you are explaining a theme. Here you're not talking about a word, you are explaining a theme. Coming late to the office, so everybody is coming late to the office, this is a theme which is being repeated by many. You'll explain it. Okay. Textual analysis is basically explaining the text, diagrams, designs. Discourse analysis is basically not very oftenly used. Here you are talking about the main use of your language. Now, what is very commonly used is your content analysis and thematic analysis. These tools are very oftenly used. Okay. What kind of ethical consideration should be there when you're conducting qualitative research? See, qualitative research basically gives you an elaborated responses. Firstly, elaborated responses. Make sure your own ideas, your own values are not being included in that data. Okay. Whosoever you are interviewing, observing, please make sure that their confidentiality of the participants are ensured. Okay. And if you are doing a study in along with somebody, there is a partner to your research, please ensure the equal status of that researcher as well. Okay. And whatever information you get, don't change that information from your respondents. Whatever information you are getting, ensure to code that only. Okay, all right. Now let's come to quantitative research. Now here, in firstly is your surveys where you are giving a questionnaire in multiple choices. Okay, in that there are two kind of surveys. Cross sectional survey is wherein you are collecting a data, collecting information from a group of people or from sample at a given time. Let's say group A, you have collected the information, or even you have more than group B, you have collected them, but at a given time only, as in once, not again and again. Longitudinal survey says that, see, for long time, remember like this, for long time. So when you are, let's say, you would like to understand the changes in the patterns. So firstly, you collect the data from that group. Again, you'll come to the same group to collect the data. So in this kind of surveys, you want to understand the changes in the pattern. You want to evaluate those changes. Okay. So if is there any change in the behavior, is there any variable added or deleted, you want to understand that. Okay. All right. Now, what's the methodology for quantitative research? First is correlation research. When you talk about correlation research is basically when we want to try to understand the relationship between two variables, entities in simple language. Now, what are variables? Variables are those factor which are the main element of your study. Now, when I say variables, what are these kind? How are they important? They are important because your entire research is surrounded towards those variables. Now, first is, let's say, independent variable, and another is your dependent variable. Now the name you should be very clearly understand. Dependent variable, the name itself says, is dependent on something else. I'm not saying what is the something else. Dependent variable is dependent. Independent variable is not dependent, is independent. So just try to grasp this point with the terminology itself. There is a third kind of variable that is called as extraneous variable. Though this kind of variable is not in the control of the researcher. You are studying dependent variable and independent variable. Extraneous variable is something which occurs during the research and you can't control it. Okay? When I say you can't control it, means the welcome of these variables you can't control, but there are methods to control that as well. They do impact your study. Okay? So, coming back to correlation research, so here you are trying to relate or understand the relationship between two or more variables. So, let's say there is an independent variable, there are two dependent variables. So, good grades and good school performance overall is directly dependent on student attention. So, grades and performance are dependent, student performance is independent, and it can be other way around as well. So, what is the role or in what context you are trying to understand those variables will define the stance of those variable. Now, you may can find that whatever is the variable is independent in my study, in somebody else's study, it can be a dependent variable. Okay. Now, for example, for correlation research, which I have put it down here is the relationship between stress and depression. So your depression is dependent on how much you take the stress. The equation between fame and money. So fame is independent and money is dependent, right? So this is the way you try to understand the relationship between the variable chosen. Then is causal comparative research. Basically, this kind of research try to understand the cause and effect. If one variable is dependent on other or not. Okay. and what is the impact on it. Okay, so for example, if somebody is getting good education, what are the effect of good education on that? Okay, so this kind of analysis you choose in causal comparative research. Then another one is experimental research, in which you are exploring theories. Okay, you are coming across a statement, you are basically testing the theories. So if somebody says that there is a theory of, let's say, Maslow's theory of motivation, so I want to test that once one basic need of an individual is attained, does the individual reach to another level, then to another level. I want to test this theory. This is experimental research. Okay, now coming back to sampling. First of all, understand what a sample. Before that, there is a term called population. I want to see. I'm located in Melbourne, right, Australia. I want to understand the satisfaction ratio of Aussies living in Melbourne. How much they are satisfying with the city, because we say that Melbourne is one of the most livable city in the world. So I want to understand that how much they are satisfied with the country, with the city standard of living. Okay, so for that I can't go to each and every Australian. So the people living in Australia, people living in Melbourne are my population. I can't go each one of them. I will choose a handful of them, right? That's called my sample, on which I will conduct my research. And like choosing that sample can be done by probability and non probability. The basic difference between probability and non probability means probability says those methods which gives a chance to each and every person an equal chance to be chosen as a sample. On the contrary, non probability sampling is not giving an equal chance to everyone. Okay, so let's say sample random sampling. So I have 100 people, I'm just randomly choosing anyone. Okay, for example, convenience sampling in non probability, I'm choosing people based out on my convenience. Somebody is living by me, living nearby me, I'll choose him as my sample. Okay, so everybody does not have an equal chance to be participative in my research. Okay, all right. So there are certain explanations for random sampling and non-random sampling as well. Like you have simple, systematic, like every fourth person will be a participant in my study. Stratified is my, when you create groups on the basis of certain characteristics like kids, males, females. Quota is when you have certain, like five people in a group. Okay, cluster is when you are dividing the populations, like basically somebody who is into government jobs, somebody who is into, so you're categorizing population into subpopulation. On the other side, you have non-random sampling. Convenience, I told you, on the basis of my convenience, researchers convenience. Purposive sampling is somebody who is having specific traits. So I'm conducting a study on doctors. So anyone who has a 5 years of experience will be a part of my study. Snowball sampling is if I tell you that I'm conducting a survey on product satisfaction. If you have somebody who can be part of my study, please refer it to me. Snowballing. It is like the way snowball keeps on increasing in the side, and then it gets more on the ice. It's like rolling, so you refer to somebody, that refer to somebody, that refers to somebody, it increases. Volunteering is when somebody himself or herself comes to you and then say, I want to part of your study. Okay, okay, now comes your data analysis. So basically, when you talk about research, it's not only for the academician path, it's not only for academics, it's for your corporate purposes as well. So when you talk about SWOT analysis, when you're talking about strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats, conjoint analysis is the market analysis method when you are conducting a study to understand that how individuals are making a particular purchase decision. Okay, then come cross tabulation. So basically, when you want to understand the various relationship patterns, that you also, when you have one or two variables or more than two, you want to understand the different relationship with A and B, then A and C, and you want to understand that. Turf analysis, which is not that very common as well, it is for totally unduplicated reach and frequency, which is being conducted in a situation where you want to understand the favorable communication source should be analyzed or not. Okay. Now, very important aspect of research methodology, hypothesis. Hypothesis, understand what I'm saying. Unless it is tested, it is a statement. So, hypothesis is that assumption. I'm saying assumption. It is not a fact. Hypothesis is that assumption which is either derived by a study. When it is derived by a study, it becomes a fact. Okay, further get converted into theory. When you start your study with a hypothesis, then it is an assumption only. It can be true, it cannot be true. It is just a statement which you will test in your study. Okay, so there are two ways, there are two kinds of hypothesis, alternative and null. Always remember, any null hypothesis will have a no relation between the variables. Hypotheses basically are those statements which explains the relationship between two or more variables. Okay, when you are showing a relationship between them, there is a positive relationship between stress and depression. That's an alternative hypothesis. Now when I'm saying there is no relationship between um, uh, stress and depression, then it is null hypothesis. Okay, so basically every alternate hypothesis has a null hypothesis. Okay, that's a rule to go for it. Okay, now evaluation and justification of the methodology. Okay, now basically I always tell to my students as well that your methodology should be like why you have chosen, which I told you when we were beginning up with the session also, why you have chosen it and how it is suitable for your objectives. Also, one very important part which many researchers avoid, you're not only focusing on the strength of your methodology. For example, you chose random sampling for your sampling method, so you are doing it is comfortable, it is convenient, and it is to in order to contain large number of sample, it is easy method. Also do mention one or two limitations of that method so that it reflects that you have a very clear understanding about your chosen research methods. Okay, okay. Now, how to write a strong methodology. When you are talking about strong methodology, please make sure to cite any good sources. Okay, it should be very clearly written, it should be very well justified, it should be explaining with the fact why you have chosen, how you have done it, and what interpretation it will give. Okay, so you just don't mention the name of your methods or this is the type of research, that's it. Don't end it there. How and why you have chosen that particular method only. Like I said, me being a researcher, may can go for one kind of methods. So you should have a clear understanding that if somebody else will view it, they can go for different methods also. You will discuss that as well, that why you haven't gone for that as well. Okay. All right. So now here we are there for the question and answers round. If anybody has a question, please feel free to discuss. Please have your questions, please. Does anybody have a questions, please? Am I audible, guys? Okay. How do we choose a research topic? Now, basically, let's imagine you don't have any research topic in mind. Okay. So, when we talk about research topic, always what I suggest is go for something which you are interested in, or probably take a suggestion from your supervisor. Okay. What you are interested in will help you to engage you with that topic. You will not deviate from research. Otherwise, what happens is we start with the research and then we lose our interest, and then we go haywire. Anything in which you are interested, please go with that. Okay. Okay, next question is, I told, okay, Ramya, methods are those techniques by which we conduct our research. Sampling is a method. Data analysis, any particular method is chi-square, ANOVA is a method. Entire plan is methodology. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sri Lakshmi. Thank you so much. Okay, Ms. Mahalakshmi, I have chosen forensic linguistic, ma'am. How should I further move my research? Okay. In that case, any research should be first starts to be started with your literature. Okay. Your literature. So, Mahalakshmi, I would suggest you to go ahead with your first literature review. Okay. Okay, Micheline, I have 180 surveys and some they are mostly qualitative and finding. Micheline, firstly, for a qualitative study, 180 survey is too much of number. Okay. It will definitely be difficult for you to analyze. Yes, our team can help you with SPSS. You can reach us out. Okay. Mr. Kamal, how do we conduct a mixed method approach with semi-structured interview? What are the alternatives? Basically, when you go with the mixed method, so as I told you, exploratory and explanatory sequential design, right? You can analyze the questions separately. Okay. Or you may go for, if you don't want to go with the interviews, like you can go with close-ended questionnaires for qualitative quantitative, and then you can analyze the secondary research for qualitative part. How to approach when you're a beginner to the how many literature? Mr. Ramesh, see, I can't tell you that stop at 30 or 40 papers. You may able to find the research gap, that this is something which has not been done earlier, I should focus it in by just by reading 25 papers also. However, for a PhD research, numbers can be far more what you imagine, right? Okay. What questions asked for important by the panel for PhD? Firstly, you should be very thorough with your methodology. Why did you choose this topic? These two questions, you should be very thorough about. Yes, Mr. Shri Padmakar. Methodology includes data collection, sources, samplings, everything. Entire plan. Exactly. Ramya, are various methods from qualitative and quantitative included in methodologies? Then interpreting them and making conclusions out of them. Okay, Ramya? Okay, Mr. Srinivas. I have submitted my research, and now how I have to prepare for river. As I told you, methodology should be very strong. why you have selected this paper topic of research, and how it will be useful. These two, three areas you should be very thorough. I conduct interview from 19 managers. That means your qualitative study. So can I summarize and analyze just like one person when I'm reporting in the thesis or what? So you conducted 19 interviews. So you need to now, you can go with narrative analysis also, you can go for thematic analysis also. I did not understand what you want to say, Mr. C said, just like one person. No, you have to give the interpretation of all 19 responses. Will you please mention some qualitative methods? Miss Manikama, I have mentioned, like if you want to collect the data through qualitative method, interviews, focus groups, your observation methods, all this. Please, I have presentation from what to say. Micheline, I would suggest you to please reach out our team. Okay, they'll help you, right? Sarita, what are the ways to test a hypothesis? See, basically, you can actually go for when you are wanting to test a hypothesis, Ms. Deshpande. So basically, you can actually go with an expert analysis. Also, you can test your hypothesis by showing it uh, to your one of the expert. Okay, then also there is content analysis. There is proper way of forming statistically also you can do. Okay, then you can go for whether it is a accepted hypothesis or no. For example, you can go for tailed z test. Okay, so thereby also statistically you can go and test the hypothesis. Okay, by determining the p value, significance of the p value, you can go ahead with. Okay, Mr. Bhola, I explained the sampling techniques: random, non-random, simple random sampling, right? Micheline, 180 respondents for a qualitative study is too much of number. Okay. When we do not have an exact universe, then that means you are saying that a population size is too much, or generally then you go with 10% of it, Mr. Shiv Kumar. Yes. Ma'am, you have missed my question. Akanksha, if I missed your question, I would request you to please retype it, because so many of chats are there. I might have missed. See, synopsis, Mr. Syed, it's basically synopsis is what you are going to present in your thesis. Synopsis you write for your thesis. Abstract generally you write for your paper. Okay, that's the major difference. Okay, Mr. Padmakar, when you're talking about statistical analysis, it majorly depends upon your objective. Okay, so if you want, like I mentioned in the webinar also, if you want to go ahead with establishing any relationship between two variables, so you can go for the correlation. If you want to understand what is the variation caused by one variable in another and how much, you can go for ANOVA. Depends upon your objectives. How many questions should be there in a questionnaire for an article to be published? See, there are two things, Dr. Sri Lakshmi. One, article to be published in a reputed journal is something else, and how many questions should be there in a questionnaire? Basically, obviously, there should not be too many questions. Ideal number is 10 to 15, provided all these 10 to 15 questions cover your desired information. How should we document our observation? You should interviews perspective my yes. So just don't, let's say for example, I'm observing kids in a kindergarten. I'm seeing some happy kids. Their parents must be good. They must be coming from a good family. My thought process should not intervene my observations. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Rita. Thank you. How we coding and analyze secondary data such as uh, basically again, Miss Manikama, you need to identify the repeated themes. Even if you are going for secondary data, what are the repeated patterns which are being find out in those published information related to your topic? Okay, Mr. Shiv Kumar, what did you Mr. Shiv Kumar, generally go for the 10% of a large size population. Okay, let's say, see, you can't say that there are uncountable population size. You will be having, maybe the population size is too big, Okay. So if it's too big, go for 5 to 7%. If it's still manageable, 10%. So you can't say that infinite number. Ms. Ramya, can you clarify the difference between methods? Ms. Ramya, I told you that methods like simple random sampling is a method. Okay. How I'm choosing that, why I chose that, that will come into methodology, that entire explanation. Okay. Alex, in thesis writing, we always put the hypothesis on chapter one, which is the introduction, which is the best chapter to put the hypothesis introduction. In methodology chapter, Alex, you're testing the hypothesis. Okay. Akanksha, extraneous variables, those which basically, let's say for example, I am studying that timely timely reaching to the office depending upon the traffic. Okay. There are two variables. So my timely arrival in the office and traffic. Now another thing can be I may have left my home late. That also. I may have slept late. That's why I got up late. These are something which are extraneous variables which I'm not studying, but they are impacting my results. Okay. For qualitative research, if you're conducting an interview, Shiv Kumar, 10 to 12, 15 can be going ahead with if you're able to extract that kind of information. Okay. Ramya, I just responded your query. Okay. That you need not to come out here of your own thought that, okay, this is happening, why this is happening, that why should not be there. Whatever is happening, just make a note of it. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, so please feel free. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do we have any further questions? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Celia. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Mixed approach basically, Baharu, is like when you are employing, when you are interviewing, let's say for example, when you are interviewing your sample and when you are conducting a questionnaire also, for example, that is mixed methods. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are open for further questions. If you have any, please post it. Mr. Bhola, you can go for Zotero. You can use Mendeley. Ramya, how many pages should my research paper, international education, is it include in abstract? Yeah, you submit the abstract earlier. Then you know if it's quantitative paper, paper can be of 3 4 pages also. If it's qualitative paper, paper can be 8 to 10. Generally, they give you word limit. Follow that. If selected, how many papers can I present? One in one conference, one, right? No age gap. No, no. No, I'm far more older than you. Then I still participate in conferences. No. Secondary data, when you talk about it to utilize, so you basically go with the methods like systematic literature review. You go for a meta-analysis, Prisma flow. So you have certain articles tested. What are the ways? For that, you go with certain criterias based on which you will have these kind of articles added in your secondary analysis. Certain will be excluded that way. Systematic analysis, review analysis, you may go ahead with. Mr. Ramesh, we can't, nobody can say which is more important, qualitative or quantitative. No, there are certain journals which definitely go with quantitative research primarily, but It would be biased for me to say that qualitative is important or quantitative is important. Yes, Alex, you can use both, and that method is called as mixed method. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Right. Thank you, Nanya. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Do we need to have master degree to do research, present in conference? No. Being a bachelor also in support of your supervisor or any other teacher, you can present. Yeah. Seema, yes, yes. No, not necessarily that you need to opt only a mixed method. No. That depends, Seema. You can complete your research with qualitative also, quantitative also. So I can't say that which is more effective, depends upon your objective. Yes. Economics, I would suggest go with quantitative. Yes, go with quantitative. You do with trend analysis and statistical analysis. That is more. Yeah. How many research paper get published to people for PhD? Bola, that depends upon some universities have a criteria of at least two publications. Some universities say that at least three. Some university says even if one would do. That depends upon university to university. Ramya hypotheses are those assumptions basically which you derive to test your variables, whether there is a relationship between two variables or not. So let's say if I'm taking stress, there'll be depression followed. So is there any relationship between stress or depression or not? This is hypothesis. How many questions would be included? That's what I said, Shiv Kumar. See, imagine you are answering any questionnaire. Obviously, you would not like to answer any 30 questions or 35 questions of questionnaire. There are questionnaire of these many questions as well. But I'm not saying very short questionnaire of let's say 5 to 6 questions because that will not give you enough information. 15, 17, as many 15, 17 questions, as long as they're enough to give you enough information what you are asking for. See, it's not depending upon the number of questions, it depends upon the quality of questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. It's my pleasure to interact with you kind of audience. And it's always that you all are always very interactive. Thank you so much. Some of the repeated names I can see. Wish we could see that in person to all of you. If I want to study the effectiveness of a training module, which statistical tool? See, anime. So basically, like I told you, now effectiveness of training module, you can go for mixed method also. Like you can go for why and how, both the methods you can understand, right? Correlation you can employ, yeah. Depends upon your objectives. So do we have any further questions? Rama, I told you like others also ask the same questions. And it will be very what do you say that it'll be biased on my end to say that qualitative is good or qualitative is bad. quantitative is bad. No, both the methods are good. See, anime depends upon your objectives. Your methods or tool will be decided on the basis of your objectives. Can I begin with simple research? Of course, of course. See, presenting in a international education research conference, don't aim that in one go. I'm not demotivating you. It's about that if they don't expect accept your paper, you'll be disheartened. When you say that you are a beginner, focus on good quality work rather than presenting in I just want to go for international conference or I will this big conference. No, aim for a good work. Okay. Is there any template available? See, for research papers, we have conducted the webinars in the past. However, when you write a paper, start with introduction, your literature review, methodology. This is the basic one. Okay. Thank you, Miss Seema. Thank you, Dimple. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So, if nobody have any further questions, we would take a leave now and wish you all a very happy New Year and a Merry Christmas. Those who are celebrating Merry Christmas, very warm Merry Christmas to all of you, and a very happy New Year to all of you. Now we'll be meeting in 24 now. Okay, so it's a good long journey with all of you, and wish to continue the same in future as well. A very happy New Year to one and all present. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone for joining in, taking our time. Thank you once again. So, from my side, wish all your family members as well. Yes, Ramya, you'll be getting recordings, notes, everything on your email ID. Yeah. Sayed, these days, Turnitin is being used very often, and Grammarly also you can use. Yeah. But Turnitin, many universities are relying on Turnitin. Thank you, Mr. Bola. Thank you. And same to you. Wish everyone a very happy Christmas and a very happy, prosperous New Year too. Thank you so much. So we are signing it out if nobody has any further questions. So it's time to take a call now and we'll meet soon in the next webinar. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.